Oh my god, LCS is finally beginning, which means it's time for us to begin Hotline League. And we began it last week, but we're re-beginning. It's a time of re-beginnings and renewal here on Hotline League episode 203. Of course, the show brought to you by Alienware and Gamefield. Want to shout them out, but I also want to shout out my constant co-host joining me this week, newly announced beggar, hobo, transient.
See, the thing is, I was already all those things according to Twitter and YouTube. Like,
that's true.
When we did Yahoo Esports, and I was gainfully employed by multiple companies, people already thought I was homeless.
Yes, that's true. And now you're, you are still gainfully employed by multiple companies.
Yeah, not much has changed.
What are they as Travis Gafford Industries?
Yeah.
We'll get to your stuff here in a second. But I also want to introduce our guest for this evening, which is Peter Dunn, coach of Evil Geniuses. How's it going, Peter?
Hello, Travis. Looking forward to a great show of hot takes tonight.
Very good. Yes. Well, if you don't mind, I must first ask my co-host. We don't normally do this, but I have to ask him a couple of questions because you had a big announcement on Friday, which is that you're very sad about how you're not going to be on the broadcast every day anymore, and you're down a little bit. For those that don't know, they can go watch the video on my YouTube channel because there's nothing I enjoy more than monetizing Mark's emotions, especially sadness.
Already to the tune of 100,000-ish views.
Mark, here's the funny story, guys. Mark, I was busy that during the time whenever he was going to post it, because originally we were going to post it on Friday. And then there was some other stuff that came out, so we pushed the announcement to Saturday. Mark, for the first time ever, uploaded a video to my channel. I gave him editor permissions. I opened it up, and it was like, this is your #1 performing video. It's got 10,000 views, and it's not monetized right now because Mark had not switched on monetization.
Well, because I didn't. Well, first off, I didn't want to monetize the video, and like I didn't know what your ad, because you can choose how many ads go in, and like some your Hotline League VODs, there's ads like every 2 seconds.
No, that was
like I don't.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I should apologize for that. So for those that don't know, on YouTube, on long videos, if you just hit monetize and you don't actually go in,
it just slaps them in.
Yes, yeah. It just shoves a ton of ads in, and so once every year or so, myself or my podcast editor doesn't go in and manually fix that, and so we find out that we made the mistake. Whenever I see a bunch of comments that are like, Travis, you selfish, terrible human being. What is up with ads every 2 minutes on this show? And I'm just like, well, I don't know why YouTube thinks it's a good idea to just by default slam ads in for every 2 minutes. But by the way, your video is less than 8 minutes, so you can't even add additional ads in, Mark. Just so you know.
Oh, so I didn't know it was going to happen. So that's why I didn't want to monetize it, because I was like, I don't want this to have like a bunch of ads in it and look kind of scummy.
No. But I don't mind pre-roll on it. Yes, I now have to pay you to do blame game every week, so I don't.
How
mind.
Are we splitting up ad revenue? We didn't really talk about that.
I think we talked about a flat rate for each episode.
Let's talk about ad revenue.
Oh boy, I thought we were going to talk about your new world and how. Well, here, let me ask you. People can go watch the video. They can get the update on everything that's happening for Mark. But what did you think of the reception to everything?
I mean, it was positive, I guess, even more than I thought it would be. So it was nice to see a lot of people reached out, had kind words. I appreciate all of it. I read pretty much everything, even though I was like, kind of taking Sunday off. I still checked everything on Monday or Saturday night before I dipped out.
Was there anything in particular that stood out to you, or anything that was interesting?
No.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad we could dive in on that. No, but oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was fun streaming while it kind of came out, because it allowed me to do something other than check social media relentlessly. So I streamed when the video came out.
Yeah.
And I've been taking my attempts to become a real streamer by getting emotes and badges, and I haven't done badges yet, that's a lie, but like alerts and stuff like that. And I don't know if this works or not, but I think I have an emote to annoy you, but I don't know if other people can't do it if they're not mods.
Freakstream just sent me a prime on the channel, Freaked, and says, I'm subscribing only for Mark Z. Please give him
Wait.
all of the money. He has a channel, Freak, where you can go.
Subscribe to me, Freak. What the fuck?
Mark Z
Everyone,
does.
stop subbing here. Sub to me, and you get cat emotes.
Yes.
Just spam, and you see.
Yep.
Natural Ninja's got it.
Yes, he can. Everybody else that wants to spam that emote definitely can, and we'll see what happens to them.
Does it actually ban them? Oh my god, that's so fucked up.
It's because it has your emote has the word cat in it.
Yeah, but you can't that. Doesn't that sound fucked up that you can just like ban other people's emotes accidentally because like they had a word that you didn't like in there?
Yeah, there's what is it's like Jam Cat, or what's the cat one that people use, the dancing cat?
That's that's BTTV. That's not like an actual approved emote by Twitch.
No, there is a Twitch one that has a cat in it that people use, and that one also people will sometimes try to use when music plays on my channel or whatever. Like it's got some video, and that one will also.
I have to.
Cool cat. Sean Atone was using it. Yeah.
All right, I'll have to change the name of it so people can spam my cat's face.
Yes. Well, no, none of that stuff in the chat, please. Natural Ninja, I think, is going to lose his modship here in a second for doing that. If people want to use the cat spam, they can spam the Kobe chat one in the chat. My preference though is for Kobe Nay. Okay. Well, for those that don't, actually, I don't think you got into it in the video, or I didn't watch. You did a different edit, I think, of the one you uploaded, so I didn't see it. But did you explain what Blame Game is for those that don't know, because it's coming back to the channel? I
did your suggestion. The Blame Game coming back. I recorded one this morning that should hopefully be out on Wednesday on Travis's YouTube channel. It's got a spicy topic, I think, so people should enjoy it. But there's no gameplay. The big thing about the Blame Game was it was gameplay analysis, but there's no gameplay yet, so I just kind of recorded a different kind. But
do you want to tease what it is?
Wait, what did you say, Peter?
Are you only going to be doing NA for Blame Game?
Yeah, I only ever really covered NA anyways, so sorry to the EU people. People always ask, this is so funny, people are always like, why isn't anyone do the EU one? And I've always said, people have my blessing to make an EU version of it, but I think people realize how much of a fucking nightmare making that show is on your own, and no one had ever tried to copy it, which I think speaks to how fucking obnoxious it is to make well.
That just reminded me that somebody reached out to me during the break about doing one of the version of one of my shows, and then I never got back to them, and so now I feel like a jerk. I need to go.
Oh, you ghosted them?
Yeah, remember I told you about that, and then I just got busy.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you're a big jerk.
Oops. Okay, well, what?
Nothing.
I don't want to say who it is or what it is because I don't want to throw their plans under the bus, but I need to reply to them. Okay. Anyway, hello, Peter Dunn. How are you?
Good. a bit tired, but because LPL was first week of LPL last night, so.
Wait a minute, Peter, you're using Skype's audio.
Am I?
Yeah, you're muted on Discord right now.
That would explain why the sound quality is so bad.
You gotta do the switcheroo.
Okay.
Mute on Skype.
For somebody who coaches an esports team, I'm pretty technologically competent.
Thank God you're in person. I can't imagine you trying to coach remote.
203 episodes. That's the first time anybody's ever done that. Thank you for catching that, Mark, because I was very confused because I was like, it seemed weird. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so LPL kicked off last night. How was it? I mean, Emily Rand will rant about it tomorrow when we do Rift Reaction, but you can tell me about it now.
It was everything you could possibly hope and dream for.
Nice.
There was high-quality League of Legends between FunPlus Phoenix and Never Give Up, and you couldn't ask for anything more. Oh, and you got to see Cream, who's like this young prodigy in China, like stomp on Thundertalk Gaming, but nobody cares.
Yes, TSM did not get him.
They didn't. That's true. What a shame.
That was one of the big rumors in the offseason. Okay, so you did that. How's getting ready for lock-in? Because one, can you actually tell us who the hell you guys are running?
I mean, yes, we're going to be running Impact. Who's my junk? Inspired, JKJuicyKim, Danny, and Vulcan.
Okay, very good. I like how for a second you weren't sure about the jungler. It makes me worry that you guys have somebody else you're running. Okay,
so
that's
you're running.
great.
You're starting the roster.
Yeah, I mean we're Yeah, I mean everyone's been here since before Christmas. So
Do we
they've
have
all been
any guesses?
EG got everyone in, so we're all really happy.
How many? Peter, I don't know. Peter, do you know what everybody else is running?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the rosters ahead of time. Like you know who's going to be able to field their full roster and who isn't.
Well, I know who's been playing in scrims.
Okay.
Can you leak all of that for us?
Nope.
Can you? Okay, let me ask you this: are you able to tell us? Do you think that the majority of LCS teams will have at least one sub? Because we know Cloud9 and TSM aren't able to. Dig posted theirs today that they can't have somebody, so there's 3. I've heard Golden Guardians also won't be able to run their full lineup. So there's 4. So there's only I think
the majority of LCS teams will be running their full rosters. The majority
will be running.
Will be running their full rosters.
6 out of 10. No,
I'm not commenting. I say the majority. There's 10 teams in the LCS. The majority of the teams in LCS.
Yeah, but you know what the word majority means. That means
I know
over 5. That's very confusing to me. I wonder what happened because I was under the suspicion that it was going to be more than 5 that can't run it.
It's on. I would say that it's 5.5. I would say.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to see what happens. Anyway, I'm happy for you that you get to run your full lineup because I think that will be exciting. Honestly, you guys might be the only. I'm trying to think. Are there any other of the 100T will run the roster people? No, although maybe they put tenacity in. But for the most part, I feel like you guys are going to be the only big exciting roster that people get to see the full lineup. Come to play, so that's cool.
Should be fun. Inspired is really getting used to his bot lane play from solo queue.
Yeah,
100% win rate on support. I'm not going to say his win rate on jungle, but 100% win rate on support.
Nice.
How's he liking NA solo queue? Is he one of those? Is he losing his fucking mind yet?
He really enjoys playing support.
Oh no!
Dear God. He's already his skills already begun to degrade. I can sense it right now. It's the constant EU player coming over.
I will say that Inspired is probably certainly the best jungler I've worked with in the West.
Nice.
He is significant. This guy is better than he looks on stage in person.
Well, I'll tell you. What matters is how they look on stage. So I'm hoping that he's. Maybe in one sense that's good news because it means that there's potential for you to bring it to the stage. But I am, I don't know. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
I mean, what I would say is all this shows is that the quality of NA solo queue is just incredibly high, right? So there's somebody of this caliber of player climbs better with support.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. I don't know, Mark. Is there anything that you feel like we should get into before we do any calls? Anything you want to ask about the EG lineup or lock in ahead of it?
We got an EG lineup take and the thing, so I probably won't put too hard on it. But I'm excited that the majority of teams will have their lineups. I was worried, like you, Travis, that the majority wouldn't, and a lot of the tournament would feel like a waste. So
yeah,
it's good news for me.
I'm still somewhat suspicious of Peter Dunt because it's. I'm curious to see how it's going to work out.
Peter, just to be clear.
Yep.
When you say the majority of teams are running their starting, do you mean the majority of the players total? Like if a team was three of the NA players were here, but the 2 imports weren't, you wouldn't call that they're starting the majority, right?
I haven't scrimmed every team, but from what I've heard from teams that we're not scrimming, I think that the majority of people.
Okay.
Oh wait, you mean the majority of players?
I mean the majority of teams. Well, I mean,
he means teams.
Okay.
Are you counting Core as a sub?
Yes. Yes. No, Core's a starting player. They said he's their starter. So.
I mean, did they?
I believe they did. I think when people saw that, because that's the thing for me is I've heard that Core is probably not going to be able to play in lock-in. So when I was counting on my hand, and I'm like, okay, TSM, C9, Dignitas, what was the other one that Golden Guardians and Team Liquid. For me, that's an easy 5 already. So we're already out of the majority.
So I dispute the Team Liquid, but we can count Team Liquid as my 0.5.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess that provides a little context there. Okay. So what do we got this week? So, we have one thing that I'm very surprised has not blown up on Reddit yet is the co-streaming changes, which I'm very.
Did those get announced?
Yes, it's
Where?
just it's
I didn't even
on
see it.
It's on the front page of Reddit right now on the leaks Reddit, but it's like way low. Like nobody has really noticed it yet.
Thank God the LEC put out Wildfire today. That's all I fucking saw.
Yeah, no, it's
Changes to watch parties.
yes.
So they hit it. Oh, that's so smart. They called it changes to watch parties instead of co-streaming.
Yes.
No one has any idea.
Yes, and they hit it in the announcement around the schedule. Oh yeah, and they hit it in the section where it says where to watch. And so you just skim down and you're like, oh yeah, here we go. Then it says, additionally, we're adjusting watch parties for 2022 beginning with the lock-in tournament. The LCS will allow watch parties for specific parts of the season, such as lock-in, super weeks, and playoffs. These watch parties will remain invite only. However, we'll look to ramp up the level of access we provide streamers by giving them access to pro players for interviews or enabling drops on their stream during special moments. So last year, Mark got to enjoy the experience of having to quote-unquote compete with the co-streamers for casting and analysis. This year, I get to enjoy the experience of getting to compete with co-streamers for interviews, player interviews. That will be very fun for me. Wow, oh my God. Ex co-streamer does such a better job interviewing than Travis. Anyway, so that is, yeah, but they super hit it, which I think is very, very funny and somewhat impressive how well it worked. And it's very funny because then the Reddit thread used the title changes to watch parties for the LCS. So instead of using the Reddit thread like co-streaming, well, you can't
co-streaming. You could just change it for clicks though. Like
Yeah.
if I was trying to get Reddit traction on something, I would totally title it. Co-streaming is dead in 2022 as we know it.
Yeah. So Zot says, "Guess I won't watch LCS this year." Good job, Riot. Says a person who will almost definitely watch LCS this year, which is I think what everybody's going to come out and be like, "Oh my God, there's no world in which I ever watch. I guess I'm done." And then they will definitely watch.
I mean, do we know for sure that he watched LCS this year?
Well, I guess that's they're watching Hotline League, which is virtually exclusively about.
They might just be a huge fan of me.
Yeah, or Travis.
I'm
No.
looking at their comments to see if they in my chat to see if they've ever said anything about watching in the past year. They've definitely had a lot of opinions on the performance.
Wait, see, he said that he watched because of them, and he won't watch now. So what you have to do is see. This is the last time we're going to see him. Hey, man,
He or she.
I really appreciate you watching the LCS through the years, but
Yeah.
he's gone now.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah. At one point in time, they said, and in January of last year, they said Spawn is so hot.
This person just sounds like they have good takes. I don't know if they're trying to roast them or what, but
I just scrolled to that part and I noticed, and then Spotted Chat says that's true. There we go. We're bringing people together on this show. So anyway, I'm sure we'll have some people that will call in about the changes to watch parties for the LCS, and then what else? Obviously, some lock-in takes. People can
lock in,
call in and talk about some of the roster stuff that's coming. Maybe you think EG's gonna win everything because Mark is dealing with his cold and won't mute on Discord. And then please don't do that. I'm sorry, podcast listeners. Maybe you have an opinion on against the current Wildfire. I have an opinion on Wildfire. I will put this out there right now, and Mark and Peter, you guys can let me know what you think. I think it is an excellent song that seemed to have like nothing to do at all with LEC, and I actually think they tried in that video too hard to like ride the line. Like people are gonna think I'm dogging on the song or the music video. It's phenomenal, But in the past, they were able to much more closely link the music to whatever is happening in LEC. And this one just felt like a world's anthem type thing. And in fact, I think in the music video, it was incredibly distracting because they kept cutting away from like the cool music video to just show random shots of the team logos, which I think did not work out very well. And so my opinion is that in the future, they should pick a lane with these LEC things. They should either go further in and just make awesome music like they did here, or they should go back and do more like parodies like Reckless with My Heart and all that stuff. That is my take.
Did you prefer the G2 video?
What's that? Oh, I've not seen the G2 video, but I've heard I'm supposed to watch it. I hear Carlos sings.
I didn't watch it either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been busy over here, all right? What do you want me to say?
You were streaming Genshin for hours.
I was beating my head into a wall.
This is why was there any comments when you were looking at all the social media like Mark doesn't even like LCS anymore. Now he's just a Genshin guy. He lost his passion for LCS. Maybe that's why they cut him.
I'm just waiting for Lost Ark, honestly. I don't care about either.
Okay, well, don't tell our new Resin Refresh viewers. All right. So there's that stuff to talk about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Has Twitch chat thought of anything that we're missing? I guess people could call in and talk about the new season changes. And obviously I'm not big brain enough to be able to talk about Chem Dragon, Chemtech Drake, whatever. At some point in time, Drake became the European. It used to be North Americans called it Dragon and Europeans called it Drake, and now Drake's became the new meta to say. It's very sad. Okay. I think that might be most of it. So there's a decent amount to talk about. Whoopley trying to push Academy amateur content into the show. Dear God.
Resident Sleeper. No one cares about NA talent development.
Travis hates amateur. Whoopley says.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Just somebody's actually going to believe that. All right. We've got our waiting room filled up, so I guess Mark doesn't have to give the spiel.
No spiel tonight. We're diving in. Let's get some calls for Peter to roast these idiots.
Go. Okay. Off he goes. Thank you to a bunch of people who subbed, including Kyle0808, who's a tier 2, and Maxi, Weather Mullet, Freakstream, of course, Coinshot Quoth, great name, fucking love it, Ari Waddle, Yeshua for a whole year, Gengarifith for 18 months, Sky G, TomShoe, Neo Rivendare, Green Giant, Lysynthia, Vector, Acel One Trick gifted a sub to Mark, great for him. UCF Xantha, Mark's taking a while, sorry. Weebly, Boosted Clown Fiestas, America Vespucci, and it's Kyler. Mark should be, and here he is. Rawnblade is here. Rawnblade, where are you calling from?
Calling from Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I think that it's great that Peter's here because my take is that evil geniuses have taken the biggest risk of the off-season, and that reportedly, Travis Gafford reported that they had the option to run Jensen Double Lift. And let's be real, Impact inspired Jensen Double Lift Falcon. That roster goes to Worlds regardless. You can't convince me that there's a world where that roster doesn't go to Worlds. And so by not going with that, instead with going with Jojo and Danny, I think it's the biggest risk of the offseason because they're hoping that, this roster can be even better. But I do think that it's not a certainty that this roster goes to Worlds.
Well, I agree with this take, and I've talked about this a lot, I think, in my off-season coverage. So I'm kind of curious, Mark, do you want to roll out your take on this?
I feel like I've said it before as well, but I'm very curious to hear Peter's perception of it. But I guess I'll throw my 2 cents quick, which is that I think it's somewhat of a risk, though I don't think that when you invest into young NA players who I have to check their contracts, but I think you have a couple of years with them at least, that you need to win immediately. What's that?
They just renewed, I think, both of them, I want to say, or at least one of them.
Mm-hmm. Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they're betting on the future, not just this year. So I don't think it's 100% Worlds or bust when you have 2 young players who you think are maybe the future of the scene in their positions. But at the same time, Impact and Inspired and probably Vulcan as well, are not going to be happy to like handhold these shitters if their first year is a struggle and like, you know, Danny goes through some sophomore slump. So like I think I'm not quite on like it's the biggest risk of the offseason, because I think there's a world where, you know, they get fourth and it sucks, but you know, they feel good about going in next year or something. I don't know, but it's more future oriented than I think it's like they must win this year. At least
I guess
that's my perception.
I would just add that with Worlds in North America this year, I feel like the stakes are that little bit higher. And I guess it's also just, to me, it's the risk in that the other option was on the table. Like, and so,
I think it's a crazy risk, Mark. I agree with Rawnblade. Like, and this is, you know, everybody's going to be like, oh, it's double left. But, like, to Rawnblade's point, you know, you run that roster. You are going to Worlds. JoJoPyun might be great, but also, like, the fucking team collegiate is littered with the corpses of would-be next NA amazing LCS players who went up and didn't do well and then washed out or like bounced between academy and LCS for a long time. So like I am fully aware, and we're going to hear from Peter in a second, about how JoJo is the most surest bet of all time and is the new god emperor of the LCS and will be spanking Xerxe in lock-in. But I am like, this is still a person who has not played a single LCS game versus, for instance, Jensen, who was incredible during Worlds. And so I can't imagine how it would be not a risk.
I mean, all I can say is, didn't you see the news of, you know, there's been a massive conflict within EG between senior management and coaching staff about who should be brought in and things like this.
Wait, where was this? I missed it. This was reported somewhere?
I mean, reported everywhere, no? The coaching staff really wanted JoJo and senior management wanted others. No, I mean, of course, it's nonsense. I didn't even speak to Jensen this offseason. I mean, like, if somebody had said humanoid, then fine. But, like, I mean, I don't think this is a risk at all. I mean, I think that, you know, obviously I was a bit nervous going into first day of scrims, but I'm not nervous anymore. I'm really looking forward to lock-in. I think that the people who don't know who JoJo, so the people that don't know, that don't watch Academy, don't know how good JoJoPyun is, and the people that don't know will know very soon. I think that he's a very good AD carry. He can play Jinx incredibly well. And we'll have him playing, you know, inspired playing support, and it will all work out perfectly.
This inspired support thing is very interesting.
Okay, no, but
wait, was that the video you guys tweeted? I saw you guys tweeted an inspired video. I didn't watch it.
No. Okay, but serious point on this. Is it a gamble? Yes. But I mean, what do you have to lose, right? Failing to get out of groups at Worlds again. I mean, it's not nothing, right? Go. If you have a player that you think is good enough, and we think that JoJo and Danny are both good enough, you know, let's be clear. I may not have spoken to Jensen this offseason, but I have spoken to Double F many times in the past, and I have nothing but respect for this guy. You know, EG spoke to him last offseason. He didn't want to join, which is his choice. But you know, he's gone on stream and talked about his reasons, and you know, talked about various things. But now we have Danny, and you know, I'm very happy with how Danny is right now. So for me, I don't see what the gamble here is. I can understand how on the outside it can look like a gamble, but I think the problem is that so many people have been hyped unreasonably in the past that now people don't believe hype anymore. And I think that's a good thing, because it will give people time to develop and people to grow into their role. And I believe that once lock-in comes, once people see the team in lock-in, there won't be any questions anymore.
So you said that you never talked to Jensen and stuff. It sounds like those rumors were not very close to coming true, even though there probably were some discussions. It doesn't sound like that was. If you
they had the fucking option, Mark. I'll tell you that much. Maybe they didn't.
They had the option, but I'm just saying that, like, it doesn't sound like they went very far down that road, and it wasn't like, oh God, which one do we pick? You know, it didn't sound like that from what Peter just said there.
I mean, let's be clear on this, right? Like, everyone on the EG, this is not like a an internal conflict, right? Like, I mean, it was very clear when I joined EG last year that this is what we wanted to do. I had a really good time working with Jizuke, but it was he decided to explore his options, and once the decision was made, then it was very clear that Jojo was the next person. And maybe there's a world where Chovy decides he wants to come to North America and begs to join Evil Geniuses. And maybe then he's not. Maybe then Jojo would have had stayed in academy, but the way that it is now, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, exactly. As Nightfiend says in the chat, we finally got Chovy. So
and
I'm
to be
very
clear,
happy to work with him.
I know you were joking earlier when you mentioned like maybe if someone had said humanoid, but I'm pretty sure somebody somewhere at Evil Geniuses at some point in the offseason said humanoid. So I think it's interesting that, like, I mean, not to try to spin this up into they chose JoJo over humanoid, but like he was around during the offseason. Like, I think that was a potential option for you guys.
I heard some funny stories.
I mean, look, all I'm going to say is on the outside, it looks like a gamble. I think that, however, the people that think it's a gamble are treating North America as a individual region rather than treating teams as individual entities, right? And, I'm not the kind of guy who will go out and throw everything on a rookie if I don't think that they have the talent to do it. And you just look at people like you look at the Mad Lions roster, which had 5 rookies, and of those rookies, Arome, had a rough time of it and has gone publicly and explained why that was. Shadow was a top 10 jungler in LPL last year, and then the other 3 are 2 times LEC champions, right? So and then Danny was promoted. Danny was promoted there. You look in Brazil, it was a similar thing in Brazil, right? I mean, the only person that I could say maybe didn't fulfill his potential was Arome, right? And Arome was still 3rd team All Pro, right, in 2020. So 2020 summer. So I mean, I think that you shouldn't treat people that think this is a risk of treating North America as an entire region and saying, look, there's no North American talent. Look at all these North American players who have been hyped up to me in the past. I don't have faith in North American talent anymore, rather than thinking, okay, EG, this is what EG want to do with their project. This is EG have already demonstrated that they believe in talent, and they promoted Danny, and he was really, really good last year. So rather than giving EG the benefit of the doubt, it's painting the entire region with one paintbrush, right? And that's why people think that this is a risk.
I don't think that's why people think it's a risk, Peter. I think it's because you guys chose a player who's never competed in the LCS before over a player who's had the most international success as a North American or as a mid laner in North America over all these years. I'm not saying you shouldn't have made this decision. I think it is really exciting, and quite frankly, it is more interesting for me as somebody who gets to cover the league than if you guys had just done the like, oh, here, Jensen, have a mid lane position. But it's I think it's a little unfair to say that I think you should, like, I get you have to defend your boy, but like it's good if people are saying like this is a risk because it's adding stakes, I think, a little bit to the league and to the team.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think if you put it like this, right, we have tons and tons of video material, right, on all the players. We're not just picking players out of nowhere, right? We have all of the 10-1 Syndra games in 0-13. Man, what was he playing when he went 0-13 against CLG Academy? I can't even remember that game. I've wiped it out of my mind, right? But we have a year's worth of video, a year's worth of coaching in person, right? This isn't like in Europe where a lot of the academy teams are in separate regions, right? From where their home team is, and obviously we wouldn't be promoting JoJo if we didn't think that he was ready, right? It's that simple, right? And Worlds is in North America this year. It's clear that Worlds is in North America this year, and not going to Worlds is not really acceptable for EG, right? So, maybe this is a gamble. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe I'm not coaching EG next year, right? But I believe that this was the best way to not only qualify EG for Worlds, but to go as far as they possibly can at World. And this was a decision. This was there's nobody that was off the table for EG within reason. I don't think Chovy was on the table. I don't think Rookie was on the table, right? But I think that a lot of people that were available, it wasn't a case of EG because people are saying, "Oh, this is a move to cut funding or something like this." At no point in the season did I ever feel that was an issue, right? So that's how much we believe in him. Obviously, we looked at our tape. Obviously, there were meetings after meetings after meetings after VOD reviews after all of these things. Obviously, people that such as Inspired who wanted to come to EG said things like, "Show me some video," right? Show me, like, if you want to bring me here, you want to put me with a rookie mid laner, show me some video of this guy. Okay.
You just made a highlight reel. You got the EG content team to make a highlight reel. There you go.
How much shaky cam and like special effects were thrown in there to really sell him?
There was the glitter. You've got to have glitter, sparkles.
I would say that the fact that Inspired came is probably like the most reassuring thing about the whole situation, because arguably best Western jungler right now is crazy that he could have gone anywhere, and so the fact that he was happy to come, it also just means Jojo is like super well set up to do well, right? Because it's like if he doesn't look good with the best Western jungler next to him, then like there's only himself to blame.
Yeah, I agree. And if only they practice more mid jungle and solo queue instead of bot lane. I hope you guys are watching this, by the way. Stop playing bot lane and solo queue. Go play mid jungle. But they're building up. They're definitely building up this energy. And scrims have been, it's very cheesy to go and say, scrim going well. Can't wait for LCS. But I'm gonna say, I can't wait till lock in, and let's go and see how he goes.
I was going to wrap the call, Mark, but I do you have any calls about the video with Team Liquid and Papa Smithy?
No, actually, I don't. I don't think I saw this even.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, go ahead, Mark.
No. So my thing was actually, how like players can have. You said that you found your Chovy or whatever, and players can have the same names. Like there's two Vipers. Have you ever considered making Jojo name change to Chovy and just getting people super fucking hyped? You're like, oh my god, they got Chovy, and people don't realize, and then Inspired's like, I'm playing next to Chovy, let's go.
Chovy with a 0, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe why not get Daddy to name change to Uzi as well? There you go.
Yeah.
No, but okay. Look, I acknowledge there's a risk here, but there's a risk with signing any roster, right? There's many people who built super teams in the past, and those super teams haven't worked out. There's a risk in any kind of move that you choose to make. But obviously, we have a huge amount of faith in our players, and I don't think there's anyone in EG across the entire organization that doesn't have faith in the roster that we put together.
Okay. Before we wrap up the call, because it's going kind of long, Mark, I just linked you the tweet, but I'm play it on stream.
100 Thieves, you're on deck. So, Mr. Papa Smithy, who do you want to choose to go into TL's group?
So, 100 Thieves will be choosing Evil Geniuses to send to Group B.
See?
Oh, let's choose that one.
Right.
That's for those that don't know who cussed.
Yeah.
That was Andre from Team Liquid, or Gyoto. Unhappy to have EG end up in his Group B.
I have a very good follow-up call to this.
Okay. Wait, should we do that then? We'll wait until that call.
Yeah.
That's maybe the way to do it. Okay, Rawnblade, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we take a quick break?
Yeah, I want to shout out EG for bringing Inspired over. That's pretty awesome. I want to shout out Mark. Obviously, sucks to hear you won't be on the broadcast as much, but really keen for the content you're putting out with Travis. I'm a little worried that this was Travis's doing because he just wanted you to have to send him your invoices on a more regular basis. And but yeah, hoping that you get to do some more casting this year as well, because I really loved your casting. Actually, I thought that was like used you in a different way that was really fantastic. So yeah, hope you get a bit more time doing that as well. Anyway, have a great day.
Yeah, I think that you could argue I both needed Mark's content, or I also now have to. I'm financially responsible for filling a salary gap that he has right now, or revenue gap. Anyway, thank you, Rawnblade, for the call. We'll catch you next time. Okay.
Cheers.
Off we go to the next call. Actually, we're going to take a break, but now Mark's left, so he's leaving. So we'll just take the break after the next call. Filth Monk, thank you for the Prime Pro Star as well, and Casey Bryan, thanks everyone for the subs. Arvigs, Real Foxy 1 for 50 months. 5-0. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Mark should be back here. Oh, he's here. JKJuicyKim is here. JKJuicyKim, where are you calling from? You're muted right now, so you'll need to unmute. There you go.
There we go. I'm currently from Los Angeles, California.
Nice. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I just want to focus on Group A only, talking about there's a slight close matchup between Cloud9 and Golden Guardians. The rest of the teams, I don't believe they don't have the capacity nor the potential to really match their level. Especially what I found about Golden Guardians is that Golden Guardians, they seem to have a really good roster lineup for this kind of lock-in, especially with former TSM player Loss and Ole. I especially took interest in Ole because Ole was in 2018 with Double Lift in Team Liquid, where they beat the 2018 C9. That's why I'm hoping they will have a close matchup because although Cloud9 does have the Korean imports of Summit, Berserk, and Winsome, Golden Guardians with Ole, Licorice did have amazing record internationally also, and Lost also had an amazing performance in TSM. I just think that with them and Golden Guardians and Cloud9, it's only the two of them that just seem like they would have a better performance this lock-in, and that TSM 100 Thieves, Black Quest, not good.
So you're saying...
Can I answer this one?
Yeah. I assume Golden Guardians not running the roster that you think that they're running, Caller. But go ahead, Peter.
So I believe that at lock-in, with Winsome, Summit, and Berserker doing everything that they possibly can, that Golden Guardians are still going to be able to win this matchup when the two teams play each other.
Gotcha.
I still think so too.
Yes. So to be clear, Caller, have you heard about Cloud9's roster for lock-in?
About the what Ellis did before?
Yeah, Ellis said that they won't have all their players here. So their lineup. I'm here. I'm gonna go read this to you. I have to go find it.
It would do some visa problems, right?
Yes. So let me read you their lineup right now, and you tell me for lock-in, and tell me if you still think that they have that you still have the confidence in them that you think that you had previously. Right. It is I'm trying to find it. It was from a while ago. Darshan, Blabber, Fudge, Sven, and Isles.
I mean, Sven did play with Isles when Sven got moved down to Academy because Sven did want to like try to cool down, quote quote, and Sven did have some practice with Isles, so it wouldn't be that new for Sven to just come back with Isles. But then Isles is actually new to being in the LCS. How we mentioned about JKJuicyKim, each moving up to the LCS also. So this is going to be something like same situation going on.
Okay, so are you as confident in the lineup I just told you, Darshan, Blabber, Fudge, Sven, Isles, as the team that you thought they were going to be running for lock-in?
Not gonna lie, I'm not having full confidence in this lineup. Anyways, I'm just gonna say that, but I do believe Cloud9 will clutch in, being in first at least. Golden Guard is being second.
Okay. Can I really quickly ask you why you are not as confident in 100 Thieves?
Well, I do believe 100 Thieves while they have in their same roster and such, I just don't believe that. I don't know. It seems like I don't think within the lock-in they're not just gonna try to focus on. I mean, obviously the idea is trying to be as the top of the list as possible. I don't think that at this situation, at this basically regular season, 100 Days are not going to focus on just try not to go as much as they can. I think they're trying to experiment a little bit in order to.
Okay, so you just don't think that they're going to take it as seriously. So
yeah,
okay,
and once they make it to the playoffs, basically they're gonna take what they applied it and put it to work.
I'm gonna let Peter Dunn hand off to this, and maybe we'll recontextualize it as Peter Dunn. What do you think of Group A? You guys are not competing in this group, so what are your expectations based off of things that you know?
I mean, C9 are going to be a very threatening team come the end of the year, right? But I mean, they have 3 starters not in the country, right? And they have 3 starters and a role swap mid. I mean, I'm sure Fudge will be a good mid laner by the end of spring, but he's literally just role swapped, and 3 of their starters are in crew. So I mean,
So you don't have faith that Cloud9 will take it. Is it safe to say that you probably buy what everybody else is sort of buying, which is that 100 Thieves will easily take first in this group?
it's interesting because you mentioned that Golden Guardians won't be starting with their main lineup. I can't confirm or deny it, but like if that's what's going around, so you have Golden Guardians without their main lineup. TSM has said they're going to be running their academy team, right?
Yes.
So I mean, both of these guys should be able to get out of this group in theory, because 4 out of 5 people make it out, and then we see what happens afterwards.
Okay.
But I mean, 100 Thieves have their full roster. They're the defending LCS champions. I mean, look, I love EG, but surely 100 Thieves should be favorites for lock-in, right?
Yes. I mean, I was just curious about Group A because that's what the call was about. Mark, go ahead.
But I mean,
I'll say the caller's on crack cocaine. I don't know how you could say that Academy up rostered C9 is going to take down 100 Thieves. I mean, even FlyQuest, at least it sounds like they have their main roster. Xerxe and PoE and stuff like this. So you got some veterans. Golden Guardians, rumor is they're not starting the main roster. TSM's not starting the main roster. You're trolling if you don't think 100 Thieves is like the heavy favorite here. And there's no way that Cloud9 is like.
Oh no, I'm not talking that far into where it's going to be in the playoffs, like where it's going to be like, oh, who's going to remain at top. I'm just talking about in the regular season in the lock-in. It's only in the regular season.
Sorry, you just mean in lock-in.
Wait,
only in a lock-in.
Yeah, I'm still saying you're on crack cocaine. I understood your take.
Yeah. Lock-in, I think, is where you should be most on the 100 Thieves side, because in the regular season, maybe you're here. I'm going to help. So lock-in is the tournament that's starting this week, and so,
I think we're all on the same page. I don't think there's any confusion.
So this is the part where you should be saying 100 Thieves is going to do really well because they're going to have like their full lineup and they're coming off of their win last year and like they went to Worlds. But caller, you could argue that later on maybe you expect Cloud9 to show up because LS will be over here and their players will be over here and everything's going to be great. So that's when you can have more faith in Cloud9.
I guess so.
Is Cloud9 your favorite team?
It is, but I'm taking more interest in the Golden Guardians.
It's all good.
Anyway, we're going to wind down this call, but first I want to give you, caller, Game Fuel victory, caller. Congratulations. I think you could use some help gaining alertness, accuracy, and you could maybe use some vitamins A and B. And so I want to help you out with this a little bit. It's designed to give you an edge. So next time you can go ahead and drink one of these, and whenever Mark and Peter start challenging you on stuff, that'll be good. So I'm going to send you a friend invite on Discord, and then we'll get you connected so that you can get a case of Game Fuel. Okay. Thank you so much, caller. Anything you want to shout out before we take a quick break?
Oh, I do want to shout out on Peter Dunn for actually making EG a much stronger team, and especially bringing Danny in, because other teams wouldn't usually bring rookie players in, but with Danny on the spot, that we saw in that last year's performance, he actually did really well. So I actually liked how he made that kind of move. So thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you so much for calling, and we will catch you next time. Feel free to hit me up on Discord. I'll hit you up later.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Mark?
I was going to say 2 things real quick. One, I don't know what people's exact logic's going to be when I pull them. So when someone has an interesting take about how they think Group A is going to shake out, I'm like, I wonder how it's going to go. I'm not asking people to type thesis for their takes. I can't read if everyone's writing me paragraphs of reasoning. So you kind of just shoot from the hip. You never know what you're going to get.
and we got that.
I mean, he says Cloud9 Academy is going to be better than 100 Thieves, right? That's essentially what the take is.
It's not even their
mixed
academy
roster.
team. It's a
Yeah.
Frankenstein team. Sven's not even on academy. Sven's
Oh,
a
true.
Cloud9 amateur player, and they're bringing him up. This is some Danny energy or something. I don't know. Anyway,
The other real quick thing I was going to ask, because I thought we'd find a way to tie in the whole EG getting sent to Group B thing. Peter, are you disappointed to be in Group B because it kind of influences scrims and stuff? Do you wish you were in Group A, or like do you have much of a preference at all about how you got seated?
I mean, we would never have picked TSM if we knew they were going to play their academy team. Like, I mean, I was really happy. I
oh,
was like,
you guys. So
holy
we didn't
moly.
see the video. So sorry. I guess I didn't realize you guys chose to send TSM to the other
Yeah,
side.
it bounces.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it bounces, but I guess I just didn't think about it that way.
So I was, when I saw it, I was like, holy moly, we get Cloud9, we get Scrim TSM, we get Scrim 100 Thieves. Wow, like this is even Golden Guardians, right? Like they have a pretty good roster. Holy, it's good. It's all go, guys. And then we had all the news. So.
It feels like you guys should have known the rosters of the teams that were going to be played before you had to do this.
Yeah.
It is true that like they drew. I mean, we did a dive for the lock-in last week. Or 2 weeks ago.
Was this in December that they did it?
Yeah, they did it in December. They've been like putting this stuff out for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, we did like a holiday dive where we talked about this. So like, I honestly think maybe they should have held off on drawing the teams until they knew.
Yeah. No. On the other hand, I'm excited because we get to play TL first game, right? So
has anybody made the joke that lock-in should actually be called lockout because of all the players that are locked out from competing in it? I feel like that's the easy one. Papa Smithy says, so find it out, Travis. I worked it out so anyone else could have. I mean, I was talking, Papa Smithy, specifically about the you guys should have been able to draft knowing what rosters we're going to be running.
Well, you should have had to declare your roster before they did the draft.
Yes. Well, I don't know what you do if then you can't get a player in or something like that. But
well, I mean, like you do it like a week before.
Right.
And then
I think they could have
yeah.
said that. I see what Papa Smithy's saying. He said he forecast the TSM Academy and C9 Academy scenario.
Then I just have to say thank you to Papa Smithy for thinking that EG are better than TSM, May, and Cloud9 Academy. I appreciate it.
Huge vote of confidence there.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. He's just, you know what Papa Smithy did? Everybody else was doing roster research. He was doing legal team research. He's like, which one of these teams has the best ability to get visas and players into the country in time? He's just scouting out the legal teams of everybody. All right. We're going to take a quick break right now to talk about Alienware. And actually, there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff I get to talk about with Alienware right now, some new stuff. So they announced a bunch of things at CES last week, including new upgrades to the M15 and M17. They announced a M14 notebook. Actually, sorry, is it X? I'm trying to remember if they went with X17 or X14 or M14. As you can tell, I'm just very excited right now about all the stuff that they're announcing. One thing I'm very excited about that's supposed to hit towards the end of March, and I'm definitely going to be getting. Right now, I use a 34-inch curved monitor. They announced a 34-inch curved OLED gaming monitor, which will have a refresh rate of 175 hertz. This thing is beautiful. I'm really, really excited about it. Having like an OLED gaming monitor, I think, is just going to be so sick. They also announced both wired and wireless versions of a new gaming headset, the Alienware or AW920H, which will include active noise canceling. It's awesome. And then they also announced a tri-mode wireless gaming mouse, which is the AW720M. So I'm very excited about all the things that they announced. It's the X14, which is their thinnest laptop ever made, featuring a cryotech cooling technology, which helps with heat dissipation. It's actually just really cool. It's I think if you guys want something that's like a very thin PC that can, or laptop that can still run games, like it's got a 3060 in it, so it's going to be fine. running League of Legends, for instance, or a lot of those TFT, etc. But it's also just like perfect for throwing in a backpack. I might even try to get one of these myself, even though I already have a 15. I don't know. It's just they spoil me. So, but take a look at all the cool stuff that Alienware announced at CES, and stay tuned over the next couple months, because as this stuff becomes available for purchase, I'm definitely going to be promoting it. But I'm loving it. They also came out with 2 concepts. I almost forgot to mention. One of them is Alienware Concept Nix, which is something that will allow you to move around your apartment or your home and switch to multiple screens seamlessly. So you can be playing a game on your PC, then go out into the living room and sit down and start playing it immediately on your TV. And then they also announced, I want to make sure that I get the details available in front of me right now, because I switched the page over and now I don't have it. So now I am just filling. Oh yes, they also announced a new concept, which is it's awesome, because if you've seen their Auroras before, they have Concept Polaris, which is going to be a really cool way to have a graphics. It's basically the evolution of the graphics amplifier, where you can have a awesome beast graphics card, including a 3090, and then you can have that sitting at home, so you can plug in your laptop to it and get that going. So awesome stuff that they announced at CES. Sorry, I know I went a little long, but I'm actually really pumped about all their announcements. So thank you, Alienware, for sponsoring the show. Check out the link in the description, and take a look at all the cool stuff they announced at CES. All right, Mark, come back to me, friend. I know you were looking at your phone. You were probably looking up all the great things that they announced at CES. So I understand. Oh, he's already switched channels. He's going. Thank you to, I think I already shouted Casey Bryan, but thank you, Casey Bryan, just in case I forgot, for the sub. Thank you, everybody who's subbing tonight. It's very nice of all of you to do so. Lil Bonaparte, I think, has been on the show a couple times. Were you here even very recently?
I was here like 2 or 3 weeks ago, trashing TSM, and then what's his face showed up in the chat at the same day.
Nice. Oh yeah, was it Parth?
Yeah, Parth showed up.
Yes. By the way, just a quick shout out to Parth. I remember like his last appearance on Hotline League, he told people to write, or he told a caller to write an essay for him, and he recently released a giant essay that Mark was reviewing on stream recently. Very impressive. So congrats to Parth on that. Bonaparte, remind everyone where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Atlanta.
Atlanta. Where do you want to talk about on the show?
I actually want to talk about the lack of roster releases and the effect that has on content creators like you and Mark, and even the analyst that's not knowing the rosters. And we're like, 4 days out, not even, kind of like 3.5 days out.
Yeah.
From the tournament.
Yeah, go ahead and sort of expand on that if you feel like it.
Well, so in a former life, I was a data scientist and I worked in marketing, and so I know the power of marketing. And without you guys, hype man, kind of creating that artificial traffic about the rosters and talking about it, it kind of like reduces traffic to the mainstream, downstream. And that's kind of what I used to do some predictions on that. On like, okay, if we release an ad here, what will the effect be on what we're trying to sell or try and push that product, and how can we generate organic leads and stuff like that. And so without you guys generating these organic leads, without having all the information, no, there are some rumors, but we really don't know what the rosters are. So how are you supposed to talk about them? How are you supposed to like hype up matchups and stuff like that when we're like 5 days out, 4 days out?
Well, I'll give a real world example of this, because I definitely agree. I tweeted something about this last week, I think. But we are doing the last episode of Run It, at least for now, on Wednesday. The most obvious thing in the world would be to say, okay, here's some stats around these teams or these lineups, or do something that's like a preview for lock-in. We don't know what players are playing on all the different teams. And so it creates, we weren't able to do that because we don't know what the final lineups are going to be. And so instead we've pivoted to a pretty cool idea, which is just going to be like, hey, here are some of the players that we're trying to hype up, some of the players you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Like, I think a lot of people are not believing that Core will be able to make it. So it's like, let's take a look at Isla, or let's take a look at some of these TSM Academy players or whatever. So like people will have some reasons to be excited about the players that, perhaps were not planned originally as being lock-in participants. But it is really difficult because you want to preview this tournament and we don't know entirely who is playing in it. And I'm kind of surprised that maybe the only suspicion I can have is some teams don't want to say who they're playing because they're like hoping they get a last minute visa or a player lands on Thursday or something like that. But like at a certain point in time, you're probably not going to be playing a player that hasn't been able to scrim with the team, I would imagine. So just fucking tell us who's competing in this goddamn tournament. Oh, Mark.
I was going to talk. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can. You were cutting out a little bit. The internet was garbling, so that's why I was reacting to that.
I hadn't said anything yet. All I said was because I was trying to interject. I was trying to work my way in there.
Go.
Yeah, I think it's fucking dumb. How about that? Thank God Peter came on here and said it, but I'd appreciate if every team did it less than a week out so we could actually fucking talk about predictions on what's going to happen. I think it's dumb. I also, the thing is, some of this has already been decided. Like, I was in a meeting at Riot, and some of the teams were told to us, and it was like, don't tell anyone, don't leak this stuff, And the teams, I don't know if the teams are supposed to announce it or what, but like a lot of the rosters have been decided before this week, and they're still not all public for like, what's going to be happening in less than 5 days. I don't know. It's frustrating to be like, hey, I want to make a power ranking video or like predictions for what I think is going to happen in Group A versus Group B, and it's like,
no, that's actually another point.
Unless I leak it, but then I'm in an even weirder spot because technically I know, so I can't pretend I get these rumors from somewhere else, or I could get them from somewhere else, but then people will assume I'm leaking from Riot when it's like, fuck, I'm just like, I can't do anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, Mark messaged me. I'm trying to find the message where you shot me a message, but Mark was like, do you want me to do a power rankings, a pre-lock-in power rankings video? And I was like, for like what teams? This was last week, and now we know a little bit more because some of the other teams have announced, or Peter came on the show and
so Papa Smithy says, not true. Roster lock-ins are Thursday, right? Like you're not bound to play that roster on Friday or Saturday or whatever. But you like this is being circulated that this is their intention internally, barring maybe something clears suddenly and then they can adjust. But like I would rather get told something early and then have it adjusted than told nothing and hope that it works out. Between those two, at least I can do something with one of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to decide because theoretically, Riot could have made roster lock like a week or two ago, and like that's there's a reason to and the reason to do that is because then for sure the players that are going to be there. The risk, obviously, is that you have some sick player that could be competing in this and like could look good for the team, and like you got a ton of attention, and instead they didn't know if the visa was going to get through in time or whatever, and so now that player is like shut out of the tournament when otherwise they wouldn't be. But like it's just really tough because all of us content creators, and I'm sure Riot's in the same situation too. It's like, how can you preview? Like, here's a great example.
JoJo PoE versus Bjergsen. Yeah. Like I want to hype the fuck out of JoJo PoE versus Bjergsen or whatever matchups might be happening in Group A. Fudge versus Abadaga or like whatever other things can be going on. But like I don't even know half the matchups.
Well,
how am I supposed to hype?
A great example of this is on the LCS Twitter account. They've been doing a countdown of like 10 days to go until lock-in, and they count down it with like highlight reels of stuff. But like, so the first video, or one of the first ones they did, was like 10 days away with Wild Turtle finishing his 10 kills, 9 days away with Bjergsen ranking up 9 kills on Akali. But then it starts to go 8 days away with Double Lift getting 8 kills on this, 7 days away with Bloodwater getting 7 assists. And I know part of this is because they are trying to like do the celebrating 10 years or whatever, but then on day 6 they do another Double Lift video. On day 5 they do another Double Lift video. I'm like, this guy's not fucking competing in the LCS anymore, and we're like, we could be using the countdown to hype up all 10 of the 10 different players that are going to be competing in this lock-in tournament. But instead we've got so far 3 highlight reels from Doublelift. And to be clear, I, more than anyone in this fucking world, love seeing a good Doublelift highlight video. All right? I'm not trying to knock on, throwing him in on the Twitter. Let's all just keep pretending he's around, because I do. But I don't know. It's a sad, weird, missed opportunity. And look, it's no one's fault that these players can't get in. I'm not trying to say I'm not one of those people that's like, how dare these teams not have their players right? This shit's tough. But I do think we should know who's competing in this tournament that we're trying to promote. Help us help you, Riot Games.
So I guess this one's kind of directed at Peter, but I saw your facial expressions during the conversation a little bit. What does this look like from the team side? Even for you guys putting out content, about hyping up a matchup or something like that. Does it affect you guys in the same way does it affect Travis and Mark? Or are you guys all chill about keeping rosters secret?
Well, I mean, it's all about game. I'm not too sure whether this is teams not being bothered or whether this is gamesmanship, right? Theoretically, we have Dignitas in our group, right? What happens if we want to play Saligo against Dignitas? That may be a good reason to hide something, right? But for a tournament like Lock-In, I don't know why you wouldn't just announce your roster as soon as possible and just go with that roster, unless you haven't decided what your starting lineup is, right? Maybe Rioma's going to start for Golden Guardians, right? Or something like this. So maybe people have these 10-man rosters and they still haven't decided what their best starting lineup.
Has there been a single LCS team that has communicated that they have a 10-man roster going? I feel like the only LCS team that announced that they had more than 5 was 100 Thieves.
I mean, that's the only reason not to do it, right? Unless you consider Lock-In to be an incredibly high-intensity, must-win under all costs tournament, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind coming on to for EG. I feel that there's no real reason why EG should have made any statement, because we've announced our roster and we've had no changes, and we're going to use that roster as much as we possibly can.
Well, other than people don't necessarily know that Inspired got a visa and can compete, right? You guys were clearly able to make that happen based off of either that or you're playing the mega fucking mind game right now.
I mean, you should just assume all competency, no? With
LCS teams, Peter? What are you talking about?
I mean, every single one of our players got in. I don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah, okay, but it's also not competency. To be clear, it's not it's not always on the team. You don't want to set that standard that teams that can't get a visa are incompetent, because
I didn't say that. I said that you should assume all competency. I didn't say that if you didn't get a visa, you're not competent. I said that if it's possible to get a visa, then you can get it and show that you are competent, right? But bad luck can happen, It's not. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Caller, I appreciate the take, because obviously it's something I feel passionately about, and I know. And by the way, just in case any Riot people are listening to this, or teams are listening to this, look, it's because I care, and we all are on the same team in some sense of wanting to tell awesome stories about the players and make people care about them. And so that is why I feel this way. I'm not trying to shit on people, but I'm just, I'm come on, this is why I care. That's why I want this. Bonaparte, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to the next caller?
I'm just going to say, Riot, I can show you statistics that prove that it would be good to leak those rosters early. Shout out to you guys for putting on a great podcast. Thanks, Peter, for coming on and being competent and getting all those players over here so we can watch a real team play. And shout out to Alienware, Game Fuel, also TSM, Still Dogwater. They can't even get their players over here. I blame Reggie.
Very good. Thank you for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Next caller.
Yes, thank you to Photo LOL for a whole year. And that's Wicket for 6, and then David International gifted a sub. Twitch chat with their thing. Is Dogwater the new insult? I've seen it a couple places now. I feel like. Mark, have you heard? Is Dogwater a new insult that the kids?
I don't know.
Saying?
If it is, I'm in the Genshin realm right now. I don't watch League Twitch streamers, so I don't know what's the new terms.
Okay, well, I feel like the Zoomers in Genshin would be the ones that's where I'm hoping to learn Zoomer terms in Genshin to bring them to League. Okay. We got Glimmerglen here. Glimmerglen, where are you calling from?
Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm calling from West Virginia, Shepherdstown. It's about an hour and a half from DC.
Nice. Okay. Well, welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about?
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about sort of a talent development type of thing. It's discuss how it's important for Riot to continue doing events like Game Changers, which was to support female League players and increase the visibility of female gamers. Because one of the arguments about and making NA more competitive was the fact that we don't have a big player base. And so if we could recruit more female players, that would increase the base and make the region as a whole more competitive.
No, I really appreciate this. You know, one of the things that, because I know obviously there was a big conversation about this during the offseason because of some stuff that happened in CSGO, and then it kind of like stretched out in other places. And we don't need to necessarily talk about all the CSGO stuff, but it's very interesting because my take on this has evolved over time, not because I've ever been like, yo, women should not, but I think in the early days of esports, there was a discussion of whether or not having separate these tournaments or whatever for women in a world where like you could play League of Legends both as a man and woman. There's not like a physical difference that occurs similar to what you see in like traditional sports. And there was a thought that like maybe this is actually disadvantageous. But I think as I've talked to so many people over time, I've realized how actually important it is to have these types of events. And maybe you can help understand or help explain a little bit for the folks that are unsure about this, like why it's actually helpful to have these really cool programs and initiatives like Game Changers.
Well, so one of the things is that there is no real visibility or of any type of female players in League. And when someone is starting out in basically anything, seeing someone who's similar to them or has similar experiences is important to being able to say, oh, I can do that too. And so having more female players will be, showing that some young players will be looking up to older ones, and it's also including diversity, so it's not just female players, but I think it's very important, and particularly seeing how the female players are treated and taken seriously. So
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Peter.
Oh, sorry, you go first.
No, it's okay, Mark. You go first. I've got okay, something else. But
I was going to actually respond to a comment that Travis just timed out, which I think is a little ironic. But it says, one of the things that a lot of people who don't believe in these kinds of initiatives say is like, if women were good, that they would just get on a team. But that really breaks down if you've ever been around high elo women and like asked what their experiences are. And everyone always says, oh, well, everyone on the internet gets shit. And like, yes, that's true, but also it's much worse for them. And I've been very close and have known some people who were high elo women players. And it's not fucking nice. Even just being a content creator and making like analytical content is not nice for a lot of them. A lot of my coworkers at different places have been women like Kelsey and Emily. And like, yeah, I see that it's not a very enjoyable situation, that you have to like go through extra shit to persevere through when it's hard enough on its own. And so for players as well, to the caller's point, giving them opportunities to shine, to play, and then get representation as well is a big part, and trying to make the path into going pro a little easier. Because it's pretty hard right now. It's hard for everyone, but it's especially hard for women with all the shit they have to deal with.
Well, really quickly, just to bounce off what Mark said, and then I'll throw it over to Peter, I've had friends who have tried to go pro, women friends who have told me stories about basically like they're in the amateur world and they compete, and then they find out or they hear that like they were just not picked up on a team because they were told that it would be, or somebody had said like, oh, this person will be a distraction to the team. or situations where people were going to get signed, and then it became clear to the amateur team that was going to sign them that they were a woman, and suddenly the offer gets pulled. And so I think I've just heard a lot of horror stories like this. And so I feel like, look, not to say that this stuff just create like game changers and then all this stuff will get fixed, but it's definitely one of the things that has made me realize that like there is not an unbiased path for both men and women to go pro in esports games, and League of Legends included. And so having options like this and opportunities, I think, is really cool. Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
So first things first, those kind of initiatives, very, very good, right? Like, you should have more. Why is it important that we have more of these initiatives? It's because if you don't have enough initiatives that come from a genuinely good place, right? The narrative around female gamers can be dominated by things like Vivictus Esports in the Russian league, right, where they hired a full female roster and with players who just weren't good enough, and then they got stomped every game. Things like Team Siren, all of these things where people have cynically used gender for marketing purposes, right, rather than to advance the cause of female gamers. Now, as on the coaching side, there have been female gamers who I've scouted and who have been good enough to play, maybe not at the LEC level, but at the ERL level or at the amateur level, academy level, with the potential for growth, right? Like, you don't normally sign somebody expecting them to go straight into LEC and dominate immediately. But in many cases, when I've spoken to them, from my small sample size of people I've spoken to, those people don't want to be an emblem for their gender, right? They want to be considered as equal gamers, and to be treated and judged fairly on their talents, right? And this is unfortunately not something which happens right now. It happens right now in the scene because of how toxic the discourse is, right? On the subject, and it makes me very sad because I've known people who were good enough, but who chose who chose not to go and pursue that career. Number one, because their opportunities were limited, but also because they saw how other orgs with bad intents had treated other female gamers because of their gender, right? So I think having more of these initiatives is very important. I think that once you have one or two people who make the breakthrough, you're going to see more people being willing to take the step. But the first one or two people who break through will come under huge amount of scrutiny and huge amount of toxicity, right? And it's just unfortunately how things are. It's not a good thing, and it makes me sad because good talent in Brazil, good talent in Europe, good talent in North America who could have made the step up have been restricted because of the gender. And obviously, as a coach in a region like this, I just want to see the best people play. So I think having these initiatives, if it can be used to dilute the toxicity within the discourse, it's a very useful initiative and should continue to be supported.
Yeah.
Two things to throw in there too. The point about like the women who do break through face a lot more scrutiny. I mean, like I'm sorry, I can't remember the name exactly, but who is the Overwatch pro?
Yeah, somebody said it in the Twitch chat a second ago, and I
can't remember her name, but she got a lot of shit, and people were like checking her mouse speed. Yeah, Gaguri. Yeah, I knew it was a G thing. Gaguri, just like, from my understanding, as someone who didn't follow the scene that closely, she just like went through so much more shit than any other person who just like was good enough to go pro would have to go through. And it was not great. And then the other thing I'll say is that like we always focus on the ceiling, because that's kind of we're in the LCS, or we're at the tier 1 of the esports scene. But the reality is, especially relevant given that Parth just released a 56-page document talking about the development process of how you scout and develop talent, is that like you don't just worry about the top. You have to give concern about like what's going on at the bottom. Like when someone just starts playing League, when a girl installs League, like what's her experience like? It's not great. I know someone who got their start playing a different game, and she wanted to take it seriously, and she was playing with a bunch of, like, her boyfriend introduced her to it, and then because she was a girl, they were like, no, we don't want to play with you, we don't think you're good, you just got into it because you wanted to play with me. And like, those are hurdles that you have to like get over. Like, someone close to you is saying that they don't think you're good enough and don't want to play with you. Like, you have to then get over that like emotional hurdle to be like, fuck, I'm gonna prove you wrong, you know? Like, how many of us, when we install League, have to worry about that? Like, almost none of us, you know? Like, the amount of steps that are in the way on the entire ladder up to even get to the fucking point where you're breaking through into these kinds of conversations that we're talking about, like, it's a lot more difficult. And I think that's why, you know, a lot of times people say, well, look, if they were just, if a girl was just good enough, she'd get in a team. One, you already heard Peter say that's its own dicey situation. But even getting there is like, you have to put yourself through abuse to just even compete.
Yeah, but to go further on your point, people that say, oh, you know, that's not something that would happen, right? You know, I mean, just look at the discourse that you have over. So I don't want to compare women gamers to female gamers, sorry, to NA rookies, right? But you know, what happens if the first person who comes up doesn't succeed immediately, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and success can always be thrown aside as a one-off, right? But failure for a person coming up means that it can set the entire cause back multiple years. And that's something I think we've seen with NA rookies in the LCS, but it's also something that you know, having that additional pressure is going to affect you and your ability to play and your ability to be successful, right? And you know, I just wish that there was another way that it could be handled, but I don't know what it is. And you know, it has to happen from the grassroots, and that's why I think these initiatives are important.
There was something that I thought about recently, which is there's a lot of different ways that people end up in jobs or working in the industry recently, in the esports industry, and I guess gaming in general. But one of the big ways that you see people end up in coaching roles or management roles or working at the collegiate level or whatever is these are people that potentially competed previously, and then they learned and gained a bunch of experience that allows them to go forth and become a coach in their own right, or to become a manager, or to work with teams, or to do all this different stuff because they've had this experience, to become a content creator. And that opportunity is often afforded to people who have competed in tournaments and who have done the competitive stuff before. And right now, there's not really anything like that for women. So that's like a whole avenue that is just not, like, there's a whole path into the industry or into some of these different roles that is not something that women are really experiencing right now as a means of getting in. So that's something that I'm excited about, is because I see, like, for instance, what Miss Harvey was able to do on the CSGO side. Like, I've talked to her a lot, and she had competed on CLG Red and on teams before then as well. And I know that she's gone on to do a bunch of really cool stuff in CSGO, or sorry, in esports more broadly. And so I'm excited potentially for another generation of talent to come in through initiatives like this. So, Glimmer, I know that the three of us have just waxed philosophically about all this stuff, but I definitely want to throw the floor to you if you feel like there's anything that you want to add on, or if you feel like you need to respond to anything, or even if we've gotten anything off base that you think.
Well, I think that, first of all, it's really interesting to hear, especially from Peter, kind of the inside view of some of these things when it comes to female gamers. I think that it is, I really wanted to emphasize how those very first people who become gamers, who become professionals, they're going to have a really hard time, and they're going to be trailblazers, but you just have to start, you have to start somewhere, and so more of those initiatives and getting female gamers to be more normalized, that's where the important part of getting females into the gaming industry, not just League, but all of it.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having a or for coming in and talking about this and having this take. Obviously, I know it was something that dominated in late December a lot of conversation in esports, and so I'm glad that we had the opportunity to touch on it on this episode. Is there anything you would like to shout out before we go on to the next caller?
Sure, yeah. I love Rift Reaction. It's such a great. I love Emily. It's a great show. Also, I want to shout out to Game Fuel and Alienware. It's really important that they're supporting you because you're a great journalist in the league scene, and we want you to continue. So, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for calling in, and we will catch you next time.
All right.
All right. Mark is off to grab the next caller. Shout out to Cruella's for resubbing, Liquid112 for subbing for 35 months. Familiar name. Not sure if I recall exactly where, but I think you've been subbed to my channel for a while. And Lil Bonaparte just gifted a sub, which I appreciate. Thank you, everybody. Mark is back.
Hello.
With everyone's favorite caller, TomShoe. TomShoe, where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? What's up? How you doing, Peter? Calling from Washington, D.C.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, I want to talk about the I wouldn't say death, but more about the changes to the co-streaming program.
Okay. The changes to the watch parties moving forward.
Yeah, watch parties, co-streaming, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think right now watch parties on its onset were a great idea because it was initially getting people who weren't exactly interested in LCS, but who are followers of certain personalities in the scene interested in LCS, and the idea was that they'd hopefully turn into longtime followers in the LCS. But I think at this point, it hasn't really started coming that way, and maybe that's just a guess on my part because, I don't know the actual analytics. But what I have a problem with when it comes to the co-streams is that every time you seem to tune in, it's always some major content creator that just always seems to be shitting on LCS, on the league, on the players as a whole. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes it's Double Lift or it's Dominate or it's LS, like constantly critiquing drafts, gameplay, matches, players. Oh, this guy's dog shit or dog water, whatever you want to call it, whatever the Zoomers use nowadays. And it gets very tiring. It is damaging to the product as a whole. And I think it's right now it's creating a negative perception around LCS, in that we aren't able to appreciate our successes because we are always constantly focusing on what are the negatives in the LCS. And I think it needed to be scaled back based on that side. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't criticize players, when they make mistakes. Like Savage Freak got super popular, by telling players, calling out players when they made mistakes, right? But it's not supposed to take up the entirety of the broadcast. It gets so disgusting at that point because, you're just flaming, especially new players, right? Say like rookie talent like Fate God or Diamond or Jojo Pyun or whatever comes up, and like Peter said, they may not succeed initially, but they come in and, they come in have these issues. Imagine if you had 50,000, all the 75, 100,000 co-streamers or people watching co-streams, and then their first opinion of you is going to be what the co-streamer says. Oh, this guy's shit. Oh, this guy's terrible. And you know how hard it is to like bounce back from that if you are a young talent. It's impossible.
Let me ask you, Tom, what do you think of their implementation? Because they are not like it's probably still going to be about half the time, right? It's lock-in, super weeks, and playoffs, and so it's probably about 40 to 50% of the time they're still going to be doing this. They're also going to be providing them access to pro players for interviews and enabling drops on their streams, right? So they're going to be pushing people to these streams during these bigger moments. And so that's, I guess, my only question to you is, like, I think you're suggesting that it's a good thing that they're doing this. I'm curious what your reaction is to the fact that, like, yeah, they're not going to be doing it during, like, maybe week 3 of the LCS, but for all the major moments, you're still going to have this stuff.
Yeah, so this is going to sound a little bit bad, but I don't know if they're limiting, the actual streamers that will have the ability to co-stream, but I think that one of the essentially one of the catches to be able to co-stream would be that you essentially have to be able to moderate your language a little bit. I know it sounds bad,
I mean,
but
no. To be clear, they had conversations with co-streamers before about this stuff. Like it's not like they were like, say whatever you want. Like there was I mean, I just know this. Like there were some guidelines. Now I don't think that they were ever trying to say like you can't shit on players or whatever, but there was definitely guidelines that they had for co-streamers before.
yeah, and I think there needs to be tighter restrictions on those guidelines, essentially, because I still think we are, like, I mean, if you look at the facts, like even people call us a minor region, like we're still a fourth best region in the world. Like that has to count for something, right?
Yeah.
You know?
So I wouldn't mind, before I go into a little spiel, picking Peter's brain about, like, as a coach and as, you know, someone who's around players, like, what was the perception around your team and maybe some of the other teams around like the co-streaming situation?
I mean, Jizuki got flamed to. Can I swear on this show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Jizuki got flamed to shit, right? For like for an entire year for reasons that he shouldn't have been, and it was only kind of at the end of his time that people began to properly recognize how, you know, the benefits of a Jizuki, let's say. But look. I'm a big fan of Dom's co-streams of LPL. I think that co-streams can provide a valuable asset for a league, but it's worth saying that, you know, at the end of the day, LCS is not just about success. It's an entertainment product, right? And I mean, the LCK is an entertainment product. The LPL is an entertainment product. The LEC is an entertainment product, right? Like the entire thing around it and success is part of that entertainment, right? And if you have somebody that is supposed to be a partner for your product talking about how rubbish your product is every single time that they go on, you know, that's improving their brand at the expense of your product. And you know, some people have used that those kind of things to promote themselves and to build up their brand and to further their career inside esports, right? At the expense of the LCS, right? Like we have a region at the moment in North America where it is considered shameful to have pride in your region. To, you know, whenever people are happy that they go to an international tournament, that their team is doing well or that their team is performing well, you know, you're not allowed to embrace and enjoy those moments, right? And why is that, right? Why have we reached that point? And if you reach that point and you are a fan of this region as a whole, and you're not allowed to enjoy that fandom without being kind of like shit on, then it's easy to understand why a lot of people fall out of love with this game. Right? And of course, there's things that we can do on our side as teams. Broadcasts can do better to go and make this product better. But, you know, at the end of the day, people don't want to get caught in all of this negativity, right? And it's all very well to go and say, ah ha ha, you know, look at the monkeys fighting, you know, the silly monkey meme, right? But it's you know, having some positivity is a good thing, right? And being allowed to enjoy North American League of Legends is, you know, nobody talked last year about how interesting strategically North America was as a region, right? Like you had teams that were doing all of these different strategies and more strategic diversity in North America than in a lot of other regions. You know, you had people hard freezing on side lanes. You had people playing 3-1-1, right? You had 3-1-1 teams. You had 4-1 teams. You had 1-3-1 teams, right? And nobody talks about that, right? It's just all about the toxicity and how bad individual people are. And I don't think co-streams are necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, you have to recognize what the purpose of a co-stream is. And the purpose of a co-stream is to enhance the product that already exists. And you could argue that some co-streams didn't do that, right? Now, I didn't watch large amount. The only co-streamer that I really watch is Dom. I would dominate, and I think he does a great job with LPL. And when I've seen his content around LCS, I didn't have a problem with it. But, you know, if other co-streams or even his co-stream were not reaching those goals. I understand why the program was chosen to be discontinued.
I have two really practical things really quickly on this to say. Mark, you said something. Oh, wait, no, you hadn't said something yet.
No, I haven't said anything yet.
Okay, go. Your turn. I have to keep you happy because I know.
I have to let my co-host fucking talk? Why does he even hear?
Yeah.
So this is I totally agree with like Peter's perspective. And I think one thing that people focus on the negativity angle so much. But I don't think that's the only thing to consider. Because I would say, even if you solve the negativity problem and the co-streamers all behaved according to whatever we agree is the appropriate behavior, that's still not as good as being able to make your main product good, is the point that I always brought up. Was like, let's say you made all of the co-streamers positive. Are they going to do a better job telling the story of our league than the actual main broadcast? If that's true, we have a problem. That was always my take on it, was not even just the analyst desk angle, but like the casters, hyping up players and the plays that they're doing and telling their career or the story of their career so far through this season. Like, co-streamers are content creators who have other things to do during the week, but casters ideally and analyst desk members go into story meetings in the middle of the week and spend like 10 hours, 20 hours building out what they want to talk about and doing VOD reviews and all these kinds of things to set up the narratives and bouncing ideas off each other. So that way when they get on air, they can ideally tell a coherent narrative. And if you're fractured between 20 different streams, half of them are muting the analyst desk, half of them don't have casters on, then you're not doing a good job of getting the community to understand exactly what these different angles. And so I think this is one of the areas that it doesn't matter if you have good co-streamers. If your main product can't be the best option for your viewers, then you need to fix that problem. And co-streamers bringing people in is a Band-Aid fix. I know a lot of people in the Reddit threads right now are like, well, there goes my interest in the LCS. And it's like, well, co-streaming shouldn't be the reason you want to watch the LCS. The LCS should be the reason you want to watch the LCS. And these are the kinds of problems I think need to get fixed independent of co-streaming policy. Because if you're just watching to watch a co-streamer, then the product's not great. And you need to fix that.
The one thing I'll push back a little bit on this, Mark, is like, I do think there is space for people to say, you know what, this match is perhaps, out of the 10 matches, it's not great this week. And instead of hearing two casters try to like really hype it up, like, oh, this is happening or whatever, have a lot of high energy, I think there is space for Riot used to do this, where they'd have like the lounge co-stream where it's just like a bunch of people chilling, talking about stuff and all that. So like, I think there are reasons to say that like it has to be official broadcast casting or bust. Like, you can give people options, right?
Yeah, so I am in favor of actually what they've done, which is to give the hype moments and bring in people, and especially bring in non-endemic people. I think co-streaming is great. Like, I love watching what they've done, like co-streaming in the esports ecosystem. I don't think it's bad. I just mean week over week, if people are tuning into multiple different other products, you're not going to get any coherent thing. And to that point about like, oh, well, we don't want to watch casters try and hype up two boring teams. You know what happens when there's two boring teams on co-streams? They don't fucking watch it. They go like do something else, or they like don't talk about the game at all. And it's an even worse product at hyping up what's going on screen. It's actually worse. It might be more entertaining for those fans, but in terms of what the LCS is trying to do, it's worse about telling like a 7th place team's player, like, hey, let me tell you something interesting about this guy. Like, that's what we should be doing, is making you invested in that game. And if a co-streamer is more entertaining by talking about like what pizza they ate last night, and how they got indigestion, like, I mean, again, that's a problem we need to solve.
There was at one point in time
make a better product.
There was a one point in time on the Sneaky Meteos Double O streams, which by the way I loved, but where they talked for like 10 minutes about what drinks they tend to drink, which was very funny. None of them said Game Fuel, which I thought was a terrible decision, but. I don't know. It's just funny to me sometimes how that stuff goes. Maybe I'll wind out the conversation by saying, like, I think there are two practical reasons to limit co-streaming. The first one is whenever Peter or Dom or Ellis or anybody has, like, you end up going to the break and there's a Honda ad and like somebody on their stream goes, what happened, by the way, at Dragon? And then they like skip away from the Honda ad and they go to the Dragon thing. Or maybe they don't go away from the Honda ad, but they just have it muted and they're just talking over it or whatever. I am shocked that I have not heard any rumors of sponsors being like, by the way, I noticed that 30% of the viewership is on these streams where like our ads are not getting any kind of viewership or like attention or anything like that. So like I don't want people to gloss over that, because I feel like long term, had they continued to use co-streaming the way that they do, where it just became bigger and bigger percentages, like, and I get that like some people might say, well, fuck the ads or whatever. Like, yes, sure, that's fine. You're getting a free entertainment product. You don't have to spend any money for it, and it costs millions and millions of dollars to produce. So, like, fuck the ads, but then you're going to not have this product very much longer. And then the second thing is, here's the very practical argument I will make that, like, other people will not make. I don't think the LCS broadcast is in a great place. I think it's getting better, but, like, over the years, it has not been in the best place that it has been from, like, the early years. I am hopeful that, like, going back down to 2 days, that, I don't know, you know, some of the changes they're making, I know they have a creative director now. There's, like, a lot of stuff that they're doing that I hope will get it to a better place. I know, as we all do, that North America is also not the most competitive region. And so, I think in a world where, like, the broadcast was fucking killer and the games were all killer and bangers and all the players were amazing, having a bunch of people who are basically the fucking old man Muppets in the corner of the thing that are just like, you know, throwing popcorn and jeering at what's happening on the screen is completely fine. But, like, until this stuff gets fixed, I don't think there's much value in having people who could just point out every fucking flaw of the broadcast stuff. It's just a practical perspective. Like, I know a lot of people are like, well, the broadcast should be better and the player should be better. Yeah, I fucking agree. But guess what? It's not. So, like, let's not, like, do something that's just like, here, let's fucking find a spotlight and shine it on our product that needs to get fixed before it gets fixed. That's kind of my
it's like, we don't even need to be the best region. Like, Brazil hasn't won shit, and they, like, get hundreds of thousands of viewers despite getting knocked out in planes every year.
Yes,
so
that's true.
If you can tell the story, great, and you'll have plenty of viewers.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Did you see the Twitter gaming stats for this year? CB Law has it was the most tweeted about tournament. Over the course of the year, had the most tweets about it.
Yeah.
Even over Worlds.
And yet,
exactly.
And yet, quote unquote, dog shit region, right? Reddit.
How many Worlds wins did they get? Like 0.
I mean, excuse me, like INTZ won one game, Kane won 2.
TomShoe, thanks for the call.
Peter's taking issue with you.
Oh yeah, good play.
Anything you want to shout out, Tom, before we take a quick break?
Yeah, a couple things. Shout out to OE Cord. Shout out to Georgia. They just beat Alabama. Fuck Bama. Oh, and Marks, I saw your video. I know you're talking about being the NA caster, and you know, one thing that kind of came through my head was the first thing that came to my mind was like, man, now he knows how Yasui feels. Like being the NA savior and being cast aside just like that.
Yeah,
it's a real shame.
Mark Z, I think Yasui. Thanks, TomShoe, for the call, and we'll catch you next time. Before Mark leaves, and actually before we take a quick break, I want to announce something unfortunate. And I haven't told Mark this yet, but unfortunately, Mark will only be on half the Hotline League episodes going forward. He's going to be splitting time with other people, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but I hate to say
your next
it.
Fucking ad read. It's 8:51. All right, stop wasting time with these.
Shout out to
jokes.
GameFuel, GameFuel.com/Travis. Go check them out. We've been drinking GameFuel. Mark and I on the episode tonight. Of course, we had the opportunity to give a very special caller a fantastic victory call earlier, but it's given me the energy I need to keep going, and I'm going to be streaming some Genshin after this, and it's because I drank a GameFuel. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, you can save 5% on your order with code Travis, and that's fantastic. Again, I really like I've mentioned this before, the Charged Orange Storm, I think is fantastic. But I would recommend a variety pack if you've never had one before, so that you can try out a lot of the different flavors. Mark is currently spamming his own Twitch stream in my chat, which I just don't know if that's what he should be doing during an ad. I'm trying to tell everybody about GameFuel, and Mark's saying, sub to me, fuck Travis, okay? There's no expletives in the chat during a sponsor moment, okay, Mark? We're trying to retain Mark. Now more than ever, you need me to have a revenue stream for TGI. All right.
Well, if you collapse, but everyone goes over to me, I think I'm okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Well,
yeah.
I assume that you would. We need. There's a need for revenue, Mark, for people who might be sending me bigger invoices than normal for the last couple of years to be able to get those invoices paid. Also, you're gonna have to send them more than once every 6 months now, just so you know. Because if not, like I'm gonna
trust me, I fucking know. Okay. I know too.
Okay. Thank you so much to Gamefeel. I'm sorry, Gamefeel, we went off on a tangent. Please renew. Anyway, gamefeel.com/Travis. Use code Travis to save on your order. And thanks to Gamefeel. By the way, everyone, if you please look in the past. Here's one thing I will say. In the past, a lot of people really loved when I got these sponsors because they knew that I left Yahoo and I would be unemployed without them. And people rallied around my sponsors because they understood that that was what made the content continue. There's another person now who needs you to rally around my sponsors to make sure that his content can continue. It's the host of the Blame Game, everyone. Please shout out Alienware and Gamefeel and any new exciting sponsors that we have on the way. Whenever they do this stuff. All right. Mark, you want to go grab our next caller?
Yes.
Kelsey Voser in the chat says, I remember when Travis was unemployed and poor. What a time. What a time indeed. Okay. And then TGI took me in. Thank you to One David One, Super Mobs, McDuggan, and the Big Met. We got NoGameSense here. NoGameSense, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio. We love Ohioans on the show. Is that how you say it? You've been on the show previously, I believe, right?
Yeah, one time.
Nice. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring it back to more about lock-in, I guess. And I'm not a 100 Thieves hater, and I feel like there's been a lot of 100 Thieves contrarians on the show tonight, maybe, but I'm going to talk about why I think 100 Thieves won't win lock-in despite winning their group, because I think that TL or EG are more favorable because they have better players in bottom and jungle, which I believe
Peter perked up.
I believe to be 100 Thieves win conditions is bot and jungle, and I think that if TL play with Core DJ and if Danny has improved in his laning, I think they have a possibility to beat 100 Thieves. In a best of 3, best of 5, whatever the format is, once it gets out of groups.
And you're a little quiet, so if you can, I mean, we're going to throw it over to Mark and Peter here in a second, but if you can get a little closer to the mic, I have you at 200%. Okay. Mark and Peter, who wants to start us off?
Did you see that EG have promoted like some random rookie who's like what did Inven say? He was the like 10th best rookie in the Proving Ground second.
Oh, that's what Inven said?
Yeah, it was the Inven article. They were like, oh, Jojo Pion is like a mid-tier. They went through all of his stats and were like, okay, this guy.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, because at, okay, so we promoted like a Fortnite player. He doesn't really play League, right? He only plays Fortnite, and he's just role swapped to AD carry, right? From AD carry, because he only plays AD carry in solo queue. So I think that, relying on EG to be better than 100 Thieves, given those situations, is probably relying a bit too much on Inspired, but maybe we can go and see. TL should be really, really interesting. Obviously, we haven't scrimmed them. They're in our group. I'm excited, just as excited as everyone else, to see how Bjergsen will be when he comes back in. Obviously, Hanshammer is. I mean, when I was watching on solo queue, I remember asking Jojo and Danny, "Who is this guy who's in your games all the time? He's crazy good." And it was Hanshammer during Worlds. So I think TL have the potential to be really good. They've got a good coaching staff behind them. They've got talent across all the roles. But team cohesion takes a long time to build, and that's why I think 100 Thieves are a good team to back. I promise EG will be entertaining. Right?
I will say this:
you won't promise they'll be good.
I promise they'll be entertaining, and I promise we'll be good by the end of the week.
Okay. I want to say this before I throw it over to Mark. I do have one criticism of both Jojo Pion and Inspired, and I think you need to work with them on this stuff. I think it was Inspired that did it. They had really shitty AMAs. I will just say. I was appreciative that they did AMAs. It was Inspired, right? That did it as well.
Inspired was hilarious. Like, there's all these people saying, you know, how do you feel about being a traitor and things like this? And he just replies in the most hilarious response, like in the most ridiculous, over the top responses. It was hilarious.
Okay, I'm looking it up because maybe it got better after I opened it up for a while.
Junglers in NA are better than junglers in EU.
Okay, he did say that, which was pretty good. So his were a couple, but like, goddamn, pro players used to be able to type more than 3 words in a sentence in these AMAs, and like people don't do AMAs that much more anymore. But both
Zoomer
JoJo
attention span, man. They get out 3 words before they got to go look at something else.
Somebody asked him, "What are you inspired by?" and he replied, "Skilled players." You know, it's just like, come on, Inspired, like give us something. Yeah, there were a couple bangers in here, but I don't know. Why did you renew your contract and then leave 2 months later? I'm young. I do stupid things in life.
That's a pretty good. That's good.
No, but you didn't like how JoJo said every single Western mid laner was garbage?
I didn't see that. How do you feel about Malrang being a rumored replacement? Do you think he can fit into the team? Hard to say, was the reply. It's just sometimes, but JoJo's was really rough. Again, I want to give them credit for doing AMAs when nobody else does, but like, I hope that this is something you and other people at EG can help them with. Okay, Mark, what do you think?
Yes.
Going back to the caller's take, what do you think?
I'm relatively hot on C9, especially 100 Thieves, especially given that TL might not have or JJ, as was heavily hinted at by Peter here. I think the team will have a lot of new players, obviously. Like, 0 of those I guess technically Bjergsen and Santorin have played together, but that was years ago. So none of any existing synergy. I mean, EG obviously has a bunch of new players as well, but I think that's why 100 Thieves is probably the favorite. It depends how much they're going to try out tenacity and give their younger players experience versus win. But I think they should still be the heavy favorites, given that they also just won the LCS. So I'm giving them the nod, but I'm very interested in Group B. I would almost want to ask Peter, what do you think Group B will shake out? We did a call about Group A. What do you think about Group B?
I think it's good meta for PoE. So Immortals are pretty scary. I have literally no idea how good TL will be. There's a lot of strong voices on that team. I'm sure they'll fix it at some point. But I'm really excited to see how TL will be. Obviously, I'm excited to see how EG will be. I think people will be surprised when they see EG on stage. Hopefully for the better. And who else do we have? We have Dignitas.
CLG.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
CLG. CLG is good because JoJo and contracts were like Batman and Robin. I'm not going to say who was Batman and who was Robin in Academy. So I think there's some pretty cool storylines around that. And Dignitas. We'll see. Maybe there'll be something spicy for the Dignitas game. That's all I'm going to say.
For CLG, I've been riding the copium a little bit on CLG. Going to be like my dark horse for this split. I assume you guys aren't really screaming them because they're in your group. But have you heard anything for the CLG fans who have been just brutalized for the last 2 years? Is there any spark of hope maybe you can lend them from scrims?
I mean, we haven't scrimmed CLG, so unfortunately.
But has anyone else been like, oh yeah, CLG's looking like doo-doo, or they're like, oh, they're not that bad? Like, has the rumor mill gotten to you?
Unfortunately not. But I'll try to ask contract, and then he won't tell me the truth.
Okay. It's looking okay. Yeah, okay. Also, I just realized earlier in the show, because they're both green teams and PoE was on FlyQuest before, I said PoE was on FlyQuest when I was talking about Group A. I'm a dumbass.
Mark, I don't blame you. These players end up on every team at some point in time because they're incapable of staying on a team for longer than a year. So it's not difficult, or it's difficult, I think, to do this. Okay. NoGameSense, thank you for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to our last caller?
Not really. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry we didn't have more space for you to talk, but we're a little over time. So thank you again.
Yeah, it's all good.
And keep holding it down in Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
See ya. Okay, on to our last caller. Thank you to the Big Met for giving a sub out. Very much appreciated. Okay, it's Copiz. Copiz is here. Copiz, where are you calling from?
I am calling from Columbus, Ohio, and I want to say hot diggity dog, I'm on Hotline League.
I mean, there's a set. This is 2 Ohio callers in a row. I don't know what it is with Ohio. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I got a spicy one for you here. Is that Xerxe and PoE will be the best mid jungle in the league.
Ooh.
Xerxe and PoE. Okay.
Yep,
When?
At the beginning, at least. So this I know is like a take where it's hot for the sake of Hotline League. A lot of things have to go right, but it's one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised, and so I'm going to argue for it.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, explain it.
All right, so there's two parts. All right, go. First of all, why they're going to do well, and then I'll go real quick over their competition won't do as well.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for a similar run back to when PoE was with Santorin on FlyQuest. I think it's a good PoE meta, and I think he's going to be back in form. And then PoE's junglers have consistently been performing really well with him. Spica, MVP, first team All-Pro. Santorin, first team All-Pro. Even Wiggly was an All-Pro when he was with PoE. And I think Xerxe's been underrated for a long time. He got All-Pro votes last year, including from Peter on the show here. So that kind of works out well for me. So
Dan, you did your homework before this. What the hell? You looked up who gave... Okay, continue. Sorry.
No, I think this is a good pause, and then we can go over some of their competition if you have any disagreements yet.
No, it makes sense.
All right, cool.
I'm digging it.
So let's go into their competition a little bit here. First of all, we can kind of skip over the bottom 4 teams of Golden Guardian, CLG, Fly, and Dig. Half those teams haven't been good or relevant since PoE left them, so I'm not going to waste time.
A Blaze Olive was somebody who I think was a lot of people were considering for All-Pro last year. So
yeah, but Golden Guardians is also one of those teams that's going to be struggling with visa issues. So Blaze Olive won't even be dueling with his jungler for a long time here, it seems like.
Okay, so sorry, continue.
Yeah, so the TSM, C9, and EG rookie mids, I think, are just not going to work out, either not at all, or it's going to take too long to get going. So I think TSM's mid isn't even here yet. It's easy to not put any to push them out the thing. I don't think Fudge is going to work well for mid lane in general.
Why?
I think Fudge is going to struggle with, I think he struggled in lane in some degrees. I think he was always a really good playmaker, but I don't think he had lane prowess, and I think his wave management was weird. And I think that's going to make his mid lane be not good. And so I think basically all those 3 rookie mids aren't going to do well. I guess we have to talk about JoJo a little bit. I think EG might be the biggest threat because I think EG's plan is going to be to play around mid. I think they basically have to, so JoJo doesn't go 0-10, but we're just going to, for the sake of the call, say he's going to go 0-10 anyways.
Have you heard of Team Liquid?
So yes, this one I'm really happy to talk about. TL and 100 Thieves. I think they are not going to be in contention because they're going to be playing through bot. They both have, once Corjada gets promoted especially, the best bot lanes in the league. And so I think they're just going to be focusing on that. And so they're not going to have the mid-jungle shine. Same as when FlyQuest, PoE, and Santor were the top in the league. You had TL and C9 being strong. They weren't playing through their mid laners. And that's why Santorin and PoE were the best then. And that's why it's going to be the same on IMT.
Mark, before we get to Peter just explaining how EG is definitely going to have the best mid-jungle duo, what do you think of this take? Is there a chance?
I disagree with it, but I think Copiz did a really good job laying out a lot of reasonable opinions. I will say, I mean, some of the things, it's just like, well, they're not even here yet, so like, who knows, Spica, K2O, who knows how that kind of develops in the future. I did like the basically just saying, well, Fudge is going to suck, he's too new, and like throwing all the rookies out just on the basis of being rookies, I feel like is painting with maybe a little too broad of a brushstroke. I do think some of them can contest.
and there's also closer Abadaga is just going to be really good still, I think. And Xerxe and Santorin probably won't take too much time to beat the rest off, because I think one of my bigger problems with the take that I would agree more fundamentally on is like, just because they're not playing through mid, that they are suddenly not going to be able to contest your mid jungle. And I think that's especially true given for PoE, he just was never that mid jungle oriented of a mid laner. I mean, he does get a fair amount of jungle attention, but it's rarely a lot of the time it's like playing around his more passive picks and making sure his wave states are in good ways, and controlling, making sure that he's got his vision control out, and these kinds of things, versus roaming together or making a ton of plays, whereas I think other combos are more aggressive.
Yeah,
and so in that sense, Xerxe and PoE are not two super aggressive players. I think they'll work well together. I think you have a point about how they might see the game the same way. But if your point is that other people aren't going to be playing through mid lane, I don't really think they'll be playing through mid lane. I think there'll be scaling picks and these kinds of things that he's done before. So that's why that little point of logic I disagree with, and as well as kind of just brushing aside anyone who's got a rookie mid.
I mean, I liked pointing out what PoE has done for his junglers previously, and I think that's really cool whenever people are able to point out a trend that kind of goes unnoticed, and I don't know how many people talk about what PoE does. Do you want to ask you, Copiz, where do you think IMT will place? Let's just say in regular season spring, before playoffs, where do you think they'll be?
Yeah, so first of all, this take, or if we're assuming visa issues, I think they could jump up a couple spots. But assuming everyone had their rosters, I have them at 6th overall by the end of spring. I do think they'll be consistent, get a lot of wins. I think they'll be the best of the bottom 5, but I'm not sure they're going to consistently break over the top 5 teams.
See, my problem is that's where I struggle, because I think it's just really hard to be the best mid-jungle duo in the league when you're not on a top 5 team. Even in a world where maybe secretly you are, where if you just paid some really brilliant analysts to pay exclusive attention to mid and jungle, and just rate all the teams off that, and maybe ignore even late game stuff, so you never know the results and placings on the stuff, maybe you could secretly be the best mid jungle duo. Will anyone realize that if you are on the 6th place team in the league? And so I think that's one of my concerns for this take, is it maybe is, even in a world where it's possible, I just don't think it's practical, because I don't think that people will ever really recognize it, because they were doing really great, and then somebody fed, and suddenly their other jungler took off, and then they lost control or something. It's you just lose too much control, I think, of these games to kind of really be able to delineate that. Peter, why is it going to be EG? Definitely, I guess.
I mean, why would it be EG? I mean, neither Inspired nor JKJuicyKim have won a single game in LCS, right? And we all know how strong a region LCS is. So, I mean, we just go over all the mid laners in the league. You have Takui hasn't won a game in LCS. Takeover hasn't won a game in LCS. Jojo hasn't. Blue hasn't. Fudge hasn't as a mid laner. TL just promoted some random coach to their mid lane position. So, you can't hope too much there. So, I mean, what can we say, right? It's all open there. All they need is one of Close or Abadage to get sick on game day, and they will be the best mid jungle 2v2.
How good do you actually think PoE and Xerxe will be, though? Because as the caller pointed out, you had
take a
is fantastic at doing, which is dragging games out to a crawl. Every team he is on, you can guarantee that will go to be one of the longest game time teams in the entire league, whilst he scales on his jungle picks, which is a skill. And what I would say is that you have a control mage specialist on a patch where Oriana are really, really strong. All of these really, really strong control mages. It's not impossible, right? If they are going to be the best, it will be a 50-minute game meta, with Dragon Souls not being that powerful, but I can see it, right? Obviously, I think that just Inspired by himself will beat most of these mid jungles 2v2, and Jojo doesn't have to do much, but but as long as Jojo performs how he's performing in scrims, like I said, people will be very, very surprised come play it. And I thought it was a very well argued take. I don't have I don't have a strong opinion. He almost got me on board, but then I opened the Leaguepedia page for LCS, and then I looked at my roster, and I was like, yeah, no. But if you took the argument that this is a year this year with a lot of players who haven't played that much LCS before, and somebody who was a coach last year, it's not impossible, right? So it will be interesting. I could see them being top 3 in play-ins, right?
You do have me worried, Peter, because you did at the beginning of the show. It took you a second to remember your jungler, and you just said you had to open the Leaguepedia page to find your roster. So
yeah, exactly.
There's only a couple days left. You need to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I keep forgetting that I have Inspired as my jungler.
I'm realizing that this is why the teams can't announce who's competing for lock-in because they still don't even know who their roster is.
They keep looking at their visas. They're like, are they here yet? I don't even know who's scrimming. They all got
all
remote.
It's all this doom and gloom, and then I open up the Leaguepedia page and I look at the roster and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This year is free. Okay, so there you go.
Copiz, thank you for the take. I think it was really unique, and it's one of those calls where if I hadn't trolled by giving a victory call, fuck it, I'll just do it. Okay. Congratulations, you are our second victory caller of the night. I thought it was really unique.
We can do 2?
I don't know. It's, why not? I'll work it out. I know, I love that your take was well researched. I thought it was really good and really unique. And look, it's really easy to call in and say CLG is going to shit the bed or CLG is going to be amazing because that's like half of our calls. But I think having a research take about this was pretty good. So I sent you a friend request, and we'll get your info set up. Anything you want to shout out before we say goodbye?
Thank you, Travis. I know there was a hot take here, and I think it is. I don't know if I'd bet on it happening, but I was thinking maybe it could happen. That's why I want to give those players a shout out. And I'll give a shout out to a couple friends here. I have my friend Greenman, my friend Derek, my friend Marshy, my friend Dr. Alberts, and then of course to the Oracle's Elixir Discord, where you can come talk with more hot takes with me.
Very good. Is this just Tim with a voice changer pretending he lives in Ohio?
Nah, Tim hates PoE.
He likes JoJo.
All right. Anyway, I'll catch you later, Copiz, but thanks again for the call.
See ya. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Great episode tonight. I really loved it. I thought it was super fun. We did a great job for not knowing who's competing in this tournament that is starting on
Peter carried. That's why it turned out.
Yeah, so true. All right. Well, Peter, what do you want to shout out?
Yeah, just like to shout out EG. EG Prodigies played their first game of the season, won their first game of the season today, in the tournament that everyone cares about, which is Proving Grounds and Qualifiers, which I'm glad. Thank you, Travis, for having me on. Thank you for all our callers for having all of the very interesting takes today. And looking forward to lock-in, looking forward to LCS this year. Promises to be one of the most interesting years of LCS in history, because every team, whether or not you agree with them or not, has a different take and a very interesting way that they've approached coming into this season, right? Whether or not you think Cloud9 have made the right choice, whether or not you think EG, TSM, TL, even CLG and all of these orgs, there's something interesting for every single, and therefore that promises to make this upcoming season very, very interesting. Keep watching.
Boom. Mark.
Yep.
What do you want to shout out? You've got stuff to shout out now. You didn't used to, so go for it.
I actually need to shout shit out now. It's crazy. Go follow my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/the_Mark_Z with 2 E's, same as my Twitter and everything else. I actually stream there most days of the week in the late mornings, early afternoons. Definitely sub to me over Travis. I'm a way better person to sub to. My emote game is better. I actually have alerts on. Travis doesn't do fuck all for you if you sub for him, but if you sub for me,
wait, hang on. I have alerts on. You only added alerts recently. I have way more
text
emotes.
To speech. If you donate to Travis, I bet he doesn't do text to speech. There's no sound to his alerts. There's nothing going on.
There's no sound because it would ruin Hotline League.
Sub to me. I'll ruin my content for you if you pay me.
I will say you do have great emotes. I don't know what the first one is, the little animated one.
Oh, that's they give you a free one when you get. I could remove it now. I should remove it.
Yeah, I'm just confused by what it is.
I don't know what it is.
There's a hot tub one. There's the your face melting one, which is your favorite. There's your goddamn cat looking terrible, and then there's a great picture of a beautiful image of your girlfriend.
Yes.
That's just a fantastic expression.
King Clover got timed out for using my emote in your chat. It's so funny. I need to change the name so people can spam that in your chat.
Yeah. It's fantastic. What else, Mark? What else do you have to promote?
Also on Travis's YouTube channel, I'll be putting all my League content in the future, basically. So power rankings, my blame game is coming back. I recorded one. It should be up there on Wednesday. That'll be really fun. On my personal YouTube page, I do mostly movies and video reviews, just like shit I'm actually doing in my personal life. It's actually more like a personal YouTube page. That's it, I think.
Yes.
That's everything. And Genshin, but you already know that.
Yes, we got Resin Refresh tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Mark and I do a lot of stuff now. Mark more than me lately, even. Anyway, thank you, Peter, for coming on the show. Thank you, Mark, for doing more work with me out of the just general passion for our content and not for any other desperate reasons. I
put in another sponsor plug in my blame game again. I'm just asking for sponsors everywhere I can go.
Yes. We should actually talk about. Well, I guess we can use my outro for this week's episode, but I wonder if at some point in time, whatever. This has been a great episode. I'm gonna stream some Genshin after this. I have been streaming more lately. It's been fun. It's mostly Genshin content, so people who don't know that, I apologize, but it's a good game. You should try it out. Thanks everyone. We'll be having coverage of Lock-In starting this weekend, so be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stuff if you haven't, and stay tuned for that. And we'll catch you next week.